Yay!
Nice.
Yeah, when I'm like tired of hearing my own voice, I actually just click that button and it shuts everything up. Yeah. Now you'll never know what I said.
Can anyone read lips?
Yeah, anyone want to take a guess? I'll go one more time. What's up, guys? It's Kictor. I'm here with my beautiful fiance for only 11 more days, Stitch. Until the terrible accident that changes the trajectory of our lives.
Yeah, who knows what I'll be after that.
Just kidding, we're getting married in 11 days.
Mm-hmm.
And, more importantly, we're on book 3, which is so exciting. And, unfortunately, I found out that the gold foil on these books comes off really freaking easily. But also, the book, like the outside cover, can also kind of rip really easily, too. So it's like a lose-lose. Books are actually meant to be put on a shelf and never read. That's always been like my motto. You know?
Yeah, that's what I do with my books.
Yeah. That's not true. You devour your books.
That's not true. I don't read my manga.
We do have a pretty big manga library. But it's pretty sweet. It's pretty sweet. Do you want to read the paperbacks instead? No, I want to read the hardcover special deluxe edition and get the gold all over my fingers. I promise I will not find another person more sincere. I promise I will not. I promise you will not find another person more sincere than me in this world.
Word
to your mother. Just kidding, she's dead. Love you, Gaga. Yeah, both Stitch and I could not remember what happens after the, like, where we left off, because we left off on like quite a little cliffhanger, you know. It's kind of just like, oh, and then he ascended.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
so
are we back in
does it just continue after he ascended? Because I kind of forgot that he does a lot of stuff technically.
I think we're still in the past.
Okay.
Where's the part where she Qingxuan and Mingyi kiss?
That part's in your mind.
Put your finger down on the spot where it happens. Right right there. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Hello, we got Kate into chat. What's up, Kate? And Briarbox says, hello, I can't stay at the moment as old people are being rude about me in the background. What? Sorry I wasn't here yesterday. I had an incident also at work with a broken lock, so I was stuck for 2 hours.
Oh my god.
Dude, what is happening? That's awful. I'm sorry to hear that. Guy says, is this the book with the part we don't talk about? What? Which part is that? Nothing is taboo when Stitch and I are here.
I mean, may all taboos be shattered or whatever.
May all taboos...
Yeah. I mean, it's the book. We're gonna talk about it eventually when we get to it.
I think I know what part you're talking about, though. The, is it the flower part?
Oh, definitely talking about the land of the tender. Jeez, what do you think we're here for?
Okay. I remember when we first read that scene, and the reason why it's so good is because, you know, what you're hoping doesn't happen. Hey, the fucking donation thing works today. Yay!
Aww.
Thank you, Quinn. Oh my god, Guy says no. Oh. What's the other part then? I don't know. I'm excited to get to it though. Thank you so much, Quinn, for donating. Nothing bad happens in volume 3, right? JK, I read before. I can't remember. I know everything bad that happens in TGCF, but
I mean,
but which part happens? I don't know.
But like bad.
The sword part doesn't happen in this book,
right? That's
later.
Yeah,
because that was original book 4.
It's like, what else? I mean, I feel like nothing else is really as bad as that.
The Gaga cream time. Is it the lemon in the eyes? Wait, what? What's happening in the revised edition, guys? I have no clue. The wall murder, yeah, I think that happens. Mm-hmm. That part's gross. I'm pretty sure we're gonna see that. Mm-hmm. Sumo, what's up, Sumo? Guess whose birthday is today? Yup, me. To be precise, the 24th of this month. I can't stay tonight though. Last time on reading stream, in May. See you soon. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Happy birthday.
birthday.
That's awesome, Sumo. I hope you have the best day ever. Aw, happy birthday. Everybody wish Sumo happy birthday. Kenzie says, I really need to do a reread of TGCF because I legit blacked out from from all the bad things happening in the series. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Oh yeah, about content warnings and trigger warnings and stuff like that. I genuinely want to give it an overall thing that like a lot of the stuff in TGCF can be upsetting. There is abuse. There is suicide. But there's not sexual abuse at the very least that I can remember. But any sort of graphic, like physical abuse, you know, it's like quite
violence,
graphic. Yeah. Like there's graphic violence to happening to characters of all ages. And I think that's just like to throw that out there with Danmei, you can usually expect graphic depictions of violence. Yeah. Like these are 17 plus books, which means that there can be gore. Which always makes me laugh when we play like a video game and it's like 13 plus for cartoon violence. It's like if you're picturing them as little cartoon characters in your mind. You know? But yeah, yes. So always just, you know, be cautious if that's something that you do not like to hear about or even have us joke about. Like we try to keep the streams a little bit more lighthearted. But of course, it's like it's also fun to read into the angst, into the emotions and stuff. Mm-hmm. But yeah, just want to throw that out there that TGCF does have violence in it.
It's kind of a convention of the genre. So
yeah,
if it's something you personally need to navigate with a little bit more specific stuff, that's kind of, you got to do a little bit of your own research.
Yeah.
Can't cover everything perfectly.
But obviously, these are supposed to be like fun streams where we're hanging out and we don't want anybody to be shocked by anything or surprised by anything. So yeah. Never Finished Story donated as well. Thank you so much. And says summoning CSCL for the recap because I was asleep last night. Oh my gosh. I can give you guys a recap. CSCL has been so generous donating every single stream with a recap. I just appreciate them so much. Quinn donated again as well. Thank you. And says Land of the Tender is chapter 37 and we are on 28.
Ooh,
so
coming up
soon.
Fast.
Ooh, very soon. Yes, what I said about sexual assault, actually. Land of the Tender, that is towing that. That is towing that. I will say that it makes you think something bad is going to happen, but then the bad thing doesn't happen, thankfully. I remember the first time reading that, being like, oh my god, I know where this is going. It didn't go there, though. But yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Who had a good day today? Who's got a good story about their day? Who is excited for something coming up this weekend? Who ate something delicious today? We ate like 9 billion taquitos today for lunch. Normally we'll have like a demure, like 2 or 3. But today I was like, we're having 6 each today.
It's delicious.
And the best thing about taquitos is that you never eat them when they're actually the correct temperature. You always eat them when they're way too hot, and it actually makes them less enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's like by the last one, when you bite into it and it doesn't burn your mouth, you're like, wow, that was so delicious. I wish the other 5 tasted like that.
The hubris in which you eat taquitos is part of the fun.
Yeah. Ooh, Miley had pie. What kind of pie?
I like pie.
Yeah, I do too. There's a pie place around here, actually. And it's like so decadent. Like you just take a tiny little, it's so good. So good. Vico said I read like 9 fanfics and I ate them up. Oh, hell yeah. We love that. Spark Major says I have worked and that's kind of it. The new carnival event is exciting. We finally get regular ass Aiden. Oh, new carnival. My knowledge of it begins with butt plug and ends with the guy that my friend showed me. She showed, like, we were at a party and we were looking at all the guys. And I was like, I think he's the hottest. And they were like, yeah, he's he's like the one everyone finds hot. And I was like, oh, okay. So I'm just a basic bitch. Got it. Miss Rosie says, I have been having a fantastic week. That's great to hear. Yesterday, my friend got married. Oh my God. And today wasn't too bad at work. And tomorrow I have off to go get tattoos. So happy and excited. Oh, that's so exciting. Great. I love to hear that. I love to hear that, Miss Rosie. Thank you for sharing that. Quinn, thank you so much for donating too, and says TGCF OVA in 5 days. Yeah. Do you remember we got that little preview of the underwater kiss?
Yeah, it seems like forever ago.
I know. So now that short film is going to come out in a couple days. 3 days? 5 days?
Wow.
Maybe it's 3 days because it's actually coming out in Japan, I think, so the time difference or whatever. So that's fucking crazy. Keep your eye out for that.
So exciting.
I know, just like the little teaser trailer for it was so exciting that I got confused in my own mind and was like, didn't we already like see this one? But yeah. So that's freaking awesome. Very excited for that. Also interesting, like who knows what's actually happening, but like interesting that it's coming out in Japan, you know, like is TGCF gonna be bought by like a Jap and then like that makes sense with maybe like the Blu-ray not having the Mandarin on it anymore. Like I don't know. I do not know. I am not affiliated in any sort of official capacity whatsoever. But I know that other Chinese dramas and stuff like that have been purchased by Japanese companies in the past.
Could be interesting.
Like the silent reading C-drama, right? Crazy. CSCL did donate. Oh my God. Thank you so much, CSCL. CSCL says, recap, flashback. Shalian asked to apologize to the gods, but says he has nothing to apologize for. Yep, hell yeah. He will always look for the second cup. Yes. Hung Honger has the worst luck, literally, and disappears. Shalian ascends. And laugh or cry counter is 13.5. Last stream, people tried to get it up. They tried to do even a 0.25 because there was one where it said Shalian didn't know whether to laugh or ache. I thought it wasn't good enough. I need a laugh or cry, not ache.
Yeah, I can see the argument for a 0.25.
Right? Isn't that funny?
That's funny. But yeah, then we're really in the weeds.
Yeah. Kenzie says, I drew a bit during work today. I was actually thinking about your art, Kenzie, and all the stuff that you've sent us. I hope that you're still drawing. That's awesome. I love to hear that. And Miss Rosie also sent a gift membership. Thank you so much, Miss Rosie. And Levsa, thank you for donating, says, I reconnected with my childhood friend and we're watching Epic the Musical together. Oh my God, over SyncTube because we're states apart. Dude, oh my God, that brings me back to like hanging out with Stitch online. We would use the website Rabbit.
Which is dead now.
It's gone now, but I'm assuming it's the same as like SyncTube where you can watch a YouTube video like together. So that is so awesome. Oh my God. And that's what a great thing to watch together. Like Epic the Musical stuff is sweet. That's awesome. Oh my God. And Miss Rosie also donated. Oh my goodness, you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Sorry, Rose City Kimono donated. Thank you, Rose City Kimono. I just picked up Missville 2 today, and I was surprised it's not even 300 pages. Currently halfway through Disabled God of War and loving it.
I'll have to pick up that one.
Yeah. Hey, you know, sometimes a shorter Danmei can be a relief.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like 4 volumes, I think. So it's just kind of a shorter story overall, I think.
guess so. Watch like the last one be like this fucking thick, though. That's crazy. And Raina also donated. Thank you so much, Raina. Hello, Kictor. Unfortunately, I can't watch today's stream because I have to get surgery. Oh no! Oh my goodness. But I will be in your walls, happily, spiritually watching. Aw, and we will be spiritually watching over your surgery. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm here.
Well, hopefully they have walls in there.
Yeah, we're in the surgery walls. We're also watching you. Well, keep us updated. I hope everything is all good and we can you can be in another stream soon and hang out with us. Thanks for popping in and donating as well. What's Tiercella says, my sister got into an internship starting in July and I will be staying in Baltimore. Side note, we live in Illinois. Oh, okay. Wow. So moving. That's fun. Leo says, I got you and Stitch a bunch of snacks from TNT plus some Danmei pins and stickers.
Oh,
what? Dude, no
so
way.
nice.
Are you kidding me? So I'll be sending you a package sometime soon. Oh, that's so sweet of you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you just even thinking of me. Thank you. Of us. Earl Grey's Nice name. Love Earl Grey. Says, I got my coworker into Tgcf. Thank you so much for donating, too. Just by saying gay men pining with extra trauma, depression, and we pretend it didn't happen. Thanks. Get a therapist ready. That is a pretty good pitch. That is a good pitch. I saw a TikTok the other day, and it was like, the audio is like something that you're into, and it was like high fantasy, romance, historical fiction, and then it was like Danmei. And it's like all of these kind of like big genre conventions wrapped into one.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's got everything. Mm-hmm. It's got everything, and it might take fucking 11 volumes to get to it all, but it really is. It's just the fucking best, truly. Thank you for donating again, Earl Greys. And Sienna, thank you so much for donating. Says, I had the best weekend. Oh my god, I love hearing all this good news. This is great. I had the best weekend. Saturday was a Danmei symposium. I met Ruthie, and oh my, no way!
God herself.
Oh my god. And got her to sign some posters, and Sun was cosplay skating. Met 2 kickflips and Yuka, the translator, mentioned in Kichter's vids at the Seven Seas panel.
Nice.
That is so fucking cool. Oh my god. That is so cool. Yeah, Yuka is fucking awesome. That is awesome. Oh my god. I want to meet Ruthie. That's so cool. That is so cool. Ruthie's art is just genuinely fucking god tier. It's so cool. And, it was in Toronto. Kate says, I wanted to go to that, but I didn't have time to go. Oh my gosh. That is really, really cool. Oh my goodness. Kenzie says, I'm trying to slowly but surely get back into all the things that I love to do, like drawing and cosplay. I was burnt out for a bit, and then I got busy. But no, I'm here in the walls too. Yeah, dude. I mean, you just moved. You got married. You got a brand new job. Like, you got to get the lay of the land first. And sometimes, like, your hobbies can go to the side, but the fact that like you're doing it a little bit is such like a good sign. Like it's great to have the time and the space to be able to do the things that you like. So I love to hear that. Yeah, and things like cosplay and drawing and stuff, like you can always take a little bit of a break from them, but it's once you get back into it, it's just so much fun. Stitch was working on Till's pants from Alien Stage. His gray ones from Blink Gone that have like the blood stain kind of in the... It looks like he jumped in a puddle of blood.
Probably did. All of his friends are dead.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's been cool. And Vico says, I just realized we have the Underwater Volume 3 scene on this video just in time for the short film. Yes! Yes, the original cover is the underwater kiss. And the deluxe one is Cheyenne being sad and crying. Tyler says, Till, oh my god, Alien Stage! Yeah, we like Alien Stage up in here. And yes, Ruthie also did the covers for the Moto Sushi hardcovers, and also did Legend of Exorcism. Yes. And also just posts a lot of fan art. Sexy Guoshi, Mei Nan Ching art, you know, like I feel like lots of people's headcanons for what Guoshi looks like is from like Ruthie's art. But yeah, super cool. Earl Grays, thank you for donating again. And says, update, funnily enough, said coworker just texted me. She's asking why I said it's traumatizing. The series seems so silly and cute. It's just so silly and cute. They can't be traumatized. Those are the best stories, though, aren't they? And Spark Major says, joyful reunion interior too. Oh my god. That's yeah, I feel like, and yeah, some special edition stuff too, and some bookmarks.
Oh yeah.
It's like she's been officially affiliated with a lot of stuff, which is just so fucking cool. And she does zines and non-for-profit, like just like what are those called, like P4P things where you can buy a zine, basically. I feel like there's another word I'm trying to think of, where like a bunch of people can like order something, and then if it reaches a certain like threshold, then you can get it shipped out and stuff like that, you know? So yeah, it's really cool. It's cool to like, you know, there's someone that's like you see them as like an official artist, but you're like, they're just in the fandom too with us. It's really cool. And Miss Rosie says, can I get some good waves for my tattooing tomorrow? Yeah, absolutely. Good waves. Your tattoos are going to be sweet. And you better post them in the community. I want to see them. Spark Ranger says she's the real speed artist because holy shit, she animates too. She's so amazing. Oh, that's wicked. Yeah, that one beautiful gif of Hongjun from Legend of Exorcism. So cool. Oh yeah, also I was following, she has an original webtoon too that I was following for a while too. I think she took a break from it, but yeah, she's super fucking cool person. Oh, someone said something. Oh yeah, RA is drawing. I think, did you say you posted something in the community? Shall we take a little walk down community road? Visit the community. There we go. Chibi Hualien underwater kiss scene just in time for the short film and the book 3 read-throughs. Oh my god. That is so cute. I love how you drew the kiss. Oh, that is really cute, dude. That is literally perfect. Oh my gosh. That's so cute. I can't believe how quickly you draw and paint. Like, that's just so cool. That is so freaking cool. Suzuki says, I finished reading Tgcf for the first time today, and it's the first novel I finished that I didn't feel sad about ending. Oh. And I think it's because I'm in this community. So thanks, Kictor, and everyone in this community. I'm going to start reading Arha in a few days. Well, I know what you mean. Like, it can feel sad when something ends, but Tgcf does have such a good ending. And I'm glad that, you know, the community can help with that too. It's like, it's not over. There's still so much fan art to consume. And ooh, B. Edwards just got their first Danmei merch ever. Oh, cute. Very cute. Very cute. Oh, CC Newbie. This is adorable. First time working with polymer clay. Not my original design. Copied from Atelier December's original work, but made by me. That is so cute. That looks really good. We should try and do stuff with clay sometime.
We can try.
Yeah. That is so cute. Crystal says, what my fiance got for me for my birthday today. I love chocolate mostly, but vanilla too. Most of all, I love my fiance a lot more. Oh, that is very sweet. Oh, happy birthday, Crystal. That is awesome. Hell yeah. And Nelly said, drew this during my lunch break in honor of the new mini film coming out soon. Oh, yay. I love seeing so many people stoked for this. Aw, hell yeah. They look cool. I love them. And Nelly also drew this. Oh, nice. Got some land boys. And Marmalade Fox said, I attempted to make a Wending themed bracelet today at my library. Sadly, I did not have much to work with. I also have never made a bracelet before, but still happy with it. That's wicked. Yeah. I wanted to represent both before he came the Ghost General and after, but I kind of wish I switched to the big red beads and the black ones. Dude, I love stuff just like this. Listen, I had one of those elastic loom things where you could make bracelets, and I made a bracelet that, like, to nobody else they would understand the meanings, but like every color I chose, it was about Full Metal Alchemist. It meant so much to me, and like every little color I was like, this like represents Roy before this moment, and this is Alphonse, and you know, and it was my favorite fucking thing in the whole wide world. And whenever I looked at it, it sparked so much joy, because it just like, it was like my own little fan art of it. And you know, so I think even if, you know, you had limited resources or whatever, you knew the intent that you had when you made it. So like, this is the perfect Wending bracelet, because to you, you know what it means, you know? And that's all that matters. That's like the fucking best. I love that. Yes, Full Metal Alchemist, Brotherhood or 2003. I watched quite a bit of 2003, but Brotherhood was the best thing in the whole world. Best thing I've ever seen ever. Frogger Dragonslayer, incredible name. says, I did some Hawaiian sketches yesterday during class. That's awesome. Oh my god. We love how happy he is to see his Gaga. That's so cute. Ooh, and the flower. Very nice. That's awesome. And yeah, there is the short film is coming. And Chaos Gremlin got the Danmei Book Club sticker.
Nice.
Yay. Thank you so much for buying on our shop. Go to Kickter.com. Go to Kickter.com. HTTPS equals Kickter.com. Yeah. And Mizuki drew Little Hong-er. Oh my god. After last stream. Oh my god. He's smiling. Oh. That is so cute. He's sad, but he's happy. That is really, really cute. Oh, very nice. Oh my gosh. Arya's drawing also drew Xiaoqi and Chen just friend. Oh my
So
god. Look
cute.
at them. Look how happy they are. How long does it last?
Forever.
Forever? They're happy forever?
They're happy forever.
Oh, good.
They have to get through the horrors first.
Oh, that's what I was thinking of, yeah. And RA also drew Hoyu and Ching Chung. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This is so precious. Oh my gosh. And yeah, the proof that other people's books have also been being ripped apart. Yeah, those are my boys. Kenzie says, "Begone, old hags at Briarbox work." Oh, Sienna says, I just posted some pictures from my cosplay skating. Oh, let me see. Oh my gosh. We got, whoa! Early Gray says, just reminded me to post this. It's a early V-Day art gift for my fiance, my Shailian to my Hua Chung. Oh, who also got me into TGCF. This is amazing. Oh my god.
so great.
That is beautiful. What an incredible gift. Oh my goodness. And Cork says, I've had this beta for a couple days and I'm not sure what to name him. I've been thinking Shailian, Feng Xiao, or Peanut Jr. He's very sassy and likes to sit by the tank filter. He likes to swim around in the dark too.
That's cute.
Oh my gosh. That's Peanut Jr. if I've ever seen him. Oh my god, Sienna! Yes! Some pics from my day at cosplay skating with my friend. We are Shailian and Wu Ming. Yes! Yes! That's so cool. Oh my god.
That's great.
Stop! Someone has to draw that. Holy shit. Dude, that's incredible. That is so good. Oh my god.
like
yes.
so much fun.
Oh, look at everyone in other cosplays. Dude, this is incredible. You and your friend are amazing for doing that. That's awesome. Yeah. Oh, and there's some spoilers for Mistville, so I'll just quickly scroll past that. But, oh my gosh. How fun. That's so fun. Well, I suppose Stitch has graced us with her presence for long enough. I know you wish to go back into the workshop.
I'm leaving. Goodbye, everybody.
Wait, I want a kiss. Come back. Now we can swear. Just kidding. I think, guys, is it Gaga time? Is it Gaga time? Also, just give me 2 seconds just to make sure that I have my schedule here correct. Today is not March 10th. I almost messed up everything. Oh! 1%. Ah! Okay. Oh, I didn't get it in time. Fuck. Isn't that the worst feeling ever? When you go to plug your phone in at 1%, and then as you plug it in, it dies. Okay. I am the 1% queen. Dude, it's crazy. I need to log into my hockey app and make sure I have the time right. I'm pretty sure my hockey's not until later tonight, but I have to wait till my phone turns back on. Bye, CC newbie. Okay, it's Gaga time, and we are on Book 3. Let's go. Let's go. Hey. Ooh. Creepy. Creepy. Get that man out of here. Okay. Bellowin says, do you plan to make a thoughts on book 2 video? Yes. Yes, we are. Definitely. Okay. Here we go. This art. Look at him. He's like, hi, Gaga. Hello. Why are you on the cliff? I don't know. I'm doing a kickflip on this sword, though. Okay. Chapter 28. Fishing for offerings. The boor meets the crown prince. Unveil! With that booming announcement, an enormous bright red brocade dropped to the ground. I feel like before TGCF, I never fucking read the word brocade so much in my life. Roaring cheers erupted from the crowd of thousands, shooting straight to the heavens. This was a divine statue of the crown prince, crafted in gold. It held a sword in one hand and a flower in the other, symbolizing the virtues of the prince himself. The power to end the world, but with a heart as gentle as a flower. Aww. He won't destroy the world, guys. He would never want to do that. Not our Gaga. The face of that statue was soft and beautiful, with long, elegant brows and thin, clean lips that curved slightly with a ghost of a smile. One could describe it as affectionate, but not frivolous. Neutral, but not indifferent. It was a compassionate and handsome face. This was the 8,000th temple of the crown prince within the kingdom of Shanla. Oh my god, that's a lot. 3 years after Ascension, there were already 8,000 temples raised in his name. Such a passionate following was unheard of in all of history, and likely would never be rivaled in the future. Truly, he was the one and only. Oh shit. The one and only. However, this 8,000th temple couldn't boast the most glamorous divine statue of the crown prince. The first palace of Shanla was built on the summit of Mount Taisong, where the crown prince lived and trained in his youth, which had been renamed to Crown Prince Summit. It was also there that the first divine statue of the crown prince was sculpted, which the king himself personally unveiled. That divine statue of the crown prince was over 15 meters high, its craftsmanship legendary. Rather than simply settling for gilding its surface, it was built entirely of pure, solid gold, truly worthy to be called golden. That's crazy. That's crazy. The crowds of devotees were endless within the palace of Shanla, and so dense that they even spilled over the building's threshold. The incense vessel stationed before the palace was stuffed to bursting with incense sticks, both long and short. Out of necessity alone, the palace's donation box was built much bigger and stockier than average. If it hadn't been built so large, it would have been filled with offerings before the day was over, and those who came later wouldn't be able to donate. In the courtyard of the temple, there was a clear pond which was swimming with thrown coins that shimmered brightly in the water. Because of all the coins being thrown by devotees, many of the old turtles residing in the pond didn't dare to peep their heads out anymore, with those projectiles constantly bouncing off their shells. No matter how the temple's resident cultivators asked people not to do it, their efforts were fruitless. The poor turtles. Plum trees bloomed in abundance within the massive red walls of the temple, their branches tied with countless bright red prayer ribbons. They painted a vibrant scene, waves of flowing crimson amongst a sea of blossoms. And in the interior of the temple, Shalian sat with upright poise just below his own divine statue. He watched over the milling crowd. No one could see him, but he could see and hear their chatter. How come the Temple of the Crown Prince doesn't have any cushions for us to prostrate? Yeah, even the temple master said we can't prostrate. The temple's already unveiled, so what's going on? This must be your first time at a palace of Shanla. All palaces of Shanla are like this. I heard that after His Highness ascended, he sent dreams to many temple donors, and to this very temple's master, telling them not to have devotees prostrate, so none of the Crown Prince temples have places to do so. 'Cause remember, he was like, guys, it's fucking weird to kneel to gods, so he made his temples have no cushions so people wouldn't kneel to him. I'm pretty sure people are just they're gonna kneel anyways, but just on a harder surface. Okay, I'm just checking my schedule really quick. The turtles are always harmed in a Danmei book. Okay. We're good. Turtles and donkeys getting the worst storylines, truly. Although no one could see him, Shalian nodded. However, a few of the visitors laughed. Where's the logic in that? Aren't we meant to prostrate before gods? That must just be a rumor. Shalian made a confused noise. That's right, we must kneel, another visitor agreed. Only by kneeling can we show our sincerity, right? Thus, one took the lead and knelt down. Soon after, many others followed suit and knelt on the ground. The hundreds and thousands of people squished inside and outside of the great hall all started kowtowing before the divine statue, their forms rising and falling, muttering as they silently prayed for blessings. Shalian wordlessly slunk away. Never mind, we'll take it slowly, he thought. The next moment, a great cacophony of voices came crashing down on him from all around like a massive wave. Achieve a high score! A high score! This year I must achieve a high score. If I get it, I will fulfill the vow I swore to you. I pray for safe travels. The girl I like fancies my Shishong. Please make him uglier. Please, I beg you. And then there's a note about the high score. It says the high score refers to the imperial state exam. High scorers would be placed in various government positions. When praying to a deity for something, it was folk custom to vow to do something if your desire was granted, usually to make a donation. Gamer prayers. Yeah. Fuck, I refuse to believe that I can't give birth to a big chubby brat. There were all kinds of prayers. Shalian was getting a massive headache just listening and hurriedly cast a spell with a hand seal, blocking out the voices entirely. Silence had only just fallen when there was a sudden shout, and a man clad in black came dashing out from the back of the palace, his hands covering his ears. What the hell are all these prayers? He roared. The worshippers didn't notice the man and continued their kowtowing. Shalian sighed and patted his shoulder. Thanks for your hard work, Function, he said with a smile. Such an exuberant palace of Shanla. Every day, Shalian heard prayers that numbered in the thousands. At first, he charged forth with a vigor born from the novelty of this new position. He didn't care whether the matters were big or small. He worked through each one personally. But after a while, there really were way too many prayers coming in, so he divided the work and tossed some into the laps of Fengxian and Muqing. After reviewing the prayers to determine which were within their purview and which could be ignored, they would pass the important matters back to him. Once Muqing finished his review, he would report back without ever voicing a complaint. Fengxian, on the other hand, just couldn't understand why there were so many who'd blindly submit prayers for petty business. They would even bring entries for harmonious bedchamber matters to the palace of Shanla. Shalian was a martial god, not a marital one, and certainly couldn't manage such things. And with prayers like these coming nonstop, the other heavenly officials eventually began taking offense. They secretly accused Shalian of his coterie of hogging the outhouse without taking a dump, that is. Ew. For taking on matters they had no jurisdiction over and roping in devotees they had no business taking. To those accusations, Shalian had no rebuttal. Fengxian had covered his ears with his hands, even though the gesture wasn't helping one bit. Your Highness, why do you have so many female devotees? Oh my god. Still seated, Shalian crossed his arms in his sleeves as clouds of incense lingered around him. He replied with a smile. What's wrong with that? Beauties abundant like clouds are pleasing to the eyes. Okay, straight Leanne. Fengxian's face dropped. It's not pleasing at all. It's like these female devotees' only prayers are wishing to look nicer, marry nicer, give birth to a nice son. Nothing of importance. Even the sight of them gives me a headache. Shalian grinned and was about to respond when suddenly there was a commotion among the crowd. The frightening heterosexual Gaga. Straight Gaga is real, and gay Fengxian is very real. The two looked out and heard as someone speak in a hushed voice. However, I feel like Fengxian's hatred of women is kind of like when homophobic people are like so outwardly homophobic because they're like secretly gay. It's like Function is secretly really straight. Prince Xiaojing has come. Let's get out of here. Prince Xiaojing is here. When the people heard the name Prince Xiaojing, it was as if they heard the devil himself. Everyone's faces drained of color, and the crowd dispersed like birds. In but an instant, like a tornado had blown past, most of the worshippers who were paying respects in the hall had fled. Soon after, a young man crossed the threshold. He had a decadent sort of appearance, lavishly dressed in a brocade and a cape, and he swaggered forth with a glazed offering lamp in his hands. His face resembled Shalian's, as long as you didn't look at his eyes, but upon seeing that arrogant, conceited gaze, one could easily discern between the two. It was none other than Qi-Rong. Wow, pretty crazy that they do look so similar, right? Except for their eyes. Qi-Rong had reached the age of 17 or 18 by now and had matured in both appearance and bearing. He had finally managed to put on an air of nobility, at least somewhat. He stepped through the doors but forbade the entry of any member of his retinue. Holding the lamp with both hands, he crossed into the great hall and swept aside his cape before kneeling on the clean floors. He raised the lamp to his forehead and prostrated solemnly. The two on top of the altar shared a look. Function smacked his lips, and Shalian understood the annoyance in his eyes. 3 years ago, when Shalian first left the imperial capital to travel the world, Qi-Rong was still in detention. Upon his return, he hadn't yet had a chance to see his little cousin before he suddenly and rumblingly ascended in his deep sleep that very night. Shalian ascended in his sleep. That's so cute. Over the last 3 years, Shalian sent a number of dreams to his parents, the state preceptor, and others. He also sent one to Qi-Rong, admonishing him to be kind to others from then on, to keep his behavior in check and avoid causing trouble. Thus, Qi-Rong had been actively commissioning the construction of temples everywhere and offering donations and lamps for good merits. That's crazy. Kate says he showed up in heaven in his jammies. Yes. Although he worked hard, sincere to the bone, he would still stir up trouble every now and then, and Feng Xin was the one who'd have to clean up after him. Because of this, Shalian could understand Feng Xin's irritation. On the floor, Qi-Rong finished paying his respects and started talking, or rather whining, aloud. Cousin Crown Prince, this is the 500th light I've offered. I'm such a loyal little brother, so when will you come see me? Even a dream would be fine. Yifu and Yimu both miss you dearly, but you ignore us. Truly high and mighty. And cold. He did not notice that Feng Xin was standing right there, reminding Shalian of the rules about such things. Ignore him. The Heavenly Emperor told you that unless it's a matter of great import, heavenly officials are not allowed to show themselves before mortals without permission. Family especially must be avoided. Oh, I forgot about this. Don't worry, I know, Shalian said. Qi-Rong rose to his feet, holding the lamp, reached for a brush, and started writing on the lamp with his head lowered. Since both Shalian and Feng Xin could distinctively recall all their past traumas with Qi-Rong, they couldn't help approaching him to check what he was writing. When they saw that it was something normal, like, I pray for the country's prosperity and good weather, and not a prayer for some family to be beheaded before the whole marketplace or something similar, the two breathed a sigh of relief. Watching Qi-Rong write stroke after stroke so carefully and properly, Shalian was reminded of something. When Qi-Rong first returned to the palace with his mother, there was an incident. A group of royals and nobles were traveling to Mount Taisong to pray for blessings. Qi-Rong's mother had only just escaped back to the palace in shame after eloping with a vulgar peasant, and since then she hadn't dared to show her face. Nonetheless, she still wanted blessings for her son and to have him experience the outside world, rather than being shut inside with her and turning into an ignorant nobody. And so she begged the queen to take Qi-Rong along. Although attempts were made to keep things under wraps, royal scandals always shot out faster than an arrow. There wasn't anyone in the imperial capital who didn't know what had happened to that mother and her son. Thus, many of the noble children on the trip deliberately left Qi-Rong out, not playing with him or talking to him. Shalian saw a swing set and ran over to play, and all the children of the same age ran after him. They took turns pushing the crown prince on the swings and considered it an honorable task. When Shalian swung to the highest point, he inadvertently looked down and saw Qi-Rong hiding in the queen's shadow, head peeking out and eyes watching him with envy. Once they reached the Palace of Divine Might and offered their lights, the grown-ups went to beg the state preceptor for fortunes or for the deciphering of thereof, or conversed among themselves. This left the children alone in the hall to offer up small lamps in play. It was Chirong's first time meeting the queen, and he didn't know she had already offered a light in his and his mother's name. He saw how beautiful the lamps were and wanted to offer one up for blessings too. He was young and didn't understand much, so he asked those around him how to write words of prayer for his mother. But the children from Chirong's branch of the family detested him, having been influenced by their elders into the belief that both mother and son had shamed the family, and so they decided to trick him. Oh no. Shalian had been forced on writing his own lamp, but when he finally put down his brush, he heard giggling from behind him that didn't sound kind. He turned his head and was greeted by the sight of Chirong with his hands covered in ink. The boy was holding a lamp like a precious treasure, his face bright with a smile. He was about to offer the light, but on that lamp there were the words written in ugly scribbles. I pray that my mother and I return soon to the heavens. Chirong. This is so mean. I did not remember any of this. Oh my god. That's so sad. I fucking hate any sort of like bullying backstory. That's so, so sad. Especially when he was like so earnest. He was so earnestly excited to make a lantern and do something kind. Shalian flew into a rage and broke that lamp on the spot. He himself wasn't very old at the time, but all the noble children present fell to their knees in terror, too afraid to peek. Once he'd regained his composure, Shalian personally rewrote a prayer on a new lamp for Chirong, and no one dared play any tricks after that. So that's why he has such like the cousin crown prince, because he was so kind to him in that moment. Oh my god. Later, when they descended the mountain, Shalian went on the swings again. This time, Chirong emerged from behind the queen and pushed him of his own initiative. He was shorter than Shalian, but he pushed especially enthusiastically. He still gazed at him from below, except now his gaze had transformed from envy into one of worship. After that, he became Shalian's tail, wagging along behind his cousin crown prince. It must be said that Chirong had once been fairly normal, but somehow and somewhere along the way, he went progressively further astray. That being said, in the past 3 years, Shalian had to deal with too many people and too many matters, so he had no time for relations of old and wouldn't know whether Chirong had improved. While Shalian was reminiscing, Chirong had already offered his light and was getting ready to leave the hall. Unexpectedly, as he backed away, he bumped into someone. Chirong staggered, then whipped around, cussing before he'd even seen who it was. What the hell? Are you blind, or did you die standing there and forgot to move aside? The moment he opened his mouth, Shalian and Function both put their hands over their foreheads and thought, he hasn't changed at all. Still the same Chirong. It's B Honey, yes, I totally agree with you. It's B Honey says, I'm pretty sure it's meant to be a parallel between Chirong with Shalian and Hua Chung with Shalian, like how the glorification turned into resentment with Chirong. Yes. Because Hua Chung, admired Shalian and then everything went to shit and still admired him. Chirong admired Shalian, everything went to shit and hates him. It might have been because he had lived with his father until he was 5 and couldn't help but be influenced by the rowdy market environment and his father's violent temper. But even long after, when the queen patiently tried to educate Chirong, the moment he got agitated, he'd reveal his true form, as the state preceptor had once put it. The one who Chirong bumped into was a ragged young man of 24 or 25. He carried a simple satchel, and his straw shoes were so worn they were almost rimless and soulless. This young man's face was wan and sallow. His lips ran dry and cracked, his posture slumped. However, his expression was bright, his physique was thin but not weak, and his eyes were shining. What is this place? He asked. This is the palace of Shanla, the temple of the crown prince, Chirong replied. The man started mumbling. The temple of the crown prince? Crown prince? So this is the imperial palace? He saw the divine statue inside, its shimmering golden light reflecting on his face. Is that gold? He asked. Seeing how glamorous the temple was, he had mistaken it for the imperial palace. A guard was approaching to drive him away, and he answered, "Of course it's gold, but the temple of the Crown Prince is a temple. It is not the same as the Imperial Palace. You don't even know where you are. Where did a barbarian like you come from?" "Then where's the Imperial Palace?" the man asked. Chirong narrowed his eyes. "Why do you ask?" The man replied quite bluntly, "I need to go to the palace and see the king. I have something to tell him." Chirong and the guards burst out laughing, disdain clear on their faces. "Where did this country bumpkin come from? You want to do what at the palace? See the king? As if you can see him just because you want to. They probably won't even let you through the gates when you get there." The man didn't seem affected by the taunt. "I'll try. Maybe it'll work." Look at Chirong here. This is so good. This is so good. I think this little flashback suddenly made me like Chirong again. You know, it's like, oh, a sad backstory just gets me. Like, oh my god, don't worry. Literally 1 chapter ago, it was Hua Chung in a sack. Hate him so much. But this is why it's such a good book, you know? Oh man. Yes, Chirong does have better handwriting than Hua Chung. That's a fun fact. Just wait, he does something awful in about 2 minutes. And see, it's a great book. A scene can be compelling. It doesn't mean that I allow or enjoy all of his actions, you know. XYX says, "Are the pictures in the paper and hardcover versions the same?" Yes, they are the same, though I believe there have been some revisions because I think in a couple pieces of art, Shalian didn't have the cursed shackles on his neck and maybe didn't have the red string on his finger when he would have. But just little things like that, I believe. Condone is the word I was thinking of, yes. Yeah. I like lots of characters, which actions of theirs I do not condone. Then go ahead, Chirong laughed heartily before purposefully pointing in the wrong direction. "Thanks," the man said. He adjusted his satchel, then turned to walk out of the hall. When he reached the stone bridge, he suddenly stopped in his tracks. Through the clear pond water, piles and piles of coins could be seen at the bottom. The young man seemed to think for a moment, and in the next second, he leapt over the bridge railing and jumped into the pond. He was extremely agile, and once he was in the water, he bent down and started fishing up handfuls upon handfuls of coins, stuffing them into the satchel in his arms. Since they had never seen anyone who dared steal a god's offering before, Shalian and Fengxian both stood in stunned shock. Chirong was also taken aback, but he immediately erupted in anger. He rushed to the bridge and slapped at the railing, yelling, "What the fuck? What are you doing? Someone pull him out! What the actual fuck?" What the actual fuck is an incredible line. Several guards immediately jumped into the water to pull the man out. But he was unexpectedly quite skilled in martial arts, throwing punches and kicks, and shockingly no one could do anything to him. Chirong was jumping up and down in rage, but none of the cultivators in the temple yard knew what to do. That young man fished up enough coins to fill his satchel, then slung it over his shoulder. Orion, thank you for... Oh, this is right over my face. Whoop. Orion, thank you for donating. Orion says, "The Chirong-Hua Chung parallels are so interesting to me. Chirong sees Shalian as a god, and Hua Chung sees him as a person." Yeah! Yeah! Hey, and you know who just said that? Fucking Guoshi just said that too with State Receptor. He was like, when humans ascend, they become gods. When humans fall, they become ghosts. He's like, nope. When humans ascend, they're still human. And when humans become ghosts, they're still human. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I love that this is... I feel like this is just so funny because it's like... This is such a calm, chaotic moment, you know? It's like, actually, he was a really good fighter and was punching and kicking everybody. It was hilarious. That young man fished up enough coins to fill his satchel, then slung it over his shoulder. He moved to climb out, but accidentally slipped on some moss, falling back into the water with a large splash. It was only then that the guards managed to seize him and wrangle him back ashore. Qirong didn't pause a moment in his fit. He kicked the man, yelling, "You dare steal this money?" Feng Xin was already standing close by when Qirong raised his leg, and seizing the right moment, he blocked the kick. While Qirong's kick looked vicious, it actually landed lightly. Although Qirong couldn't see who was playing tricks on him, he still felt like something was off, as if there was a ghost clinging to his leg. The feeling persisted as he violently kicked several more times, and he was left perturbed at the lack of impact. The young man seemed to have swallowed water, and he coughed a few times. That money was just lying there in the pond, so why can't I use it to save people? Unsatisfied with his kicks, Qirong finally stopped from sheer irritation. Save who? Who are you? Where'd you come from? He only asked so he could declare the young man guilty of a crime and throw him in prison, but the young man was an honest soul, and he answered the questions with equal honesty. My name is Lang Ying. I'm from Yong'an, he answered. We're going through a drought. There's no water, the crops won't grow, and everyone's starving because there's no income. There's water here and food and money. You use gold to build statues and throw coins in the water, so why can't you share some with us? Yong'an was a large city within the kingdom of Shanle. Shalian rose to his feet, his expression grave. Feng Xin, there's a drought going on in Yong'an? How come I didn't hear of this? Feng Xin turned to look at him. I don't know. I didn't hear about it either. Let's ask Mu Qing later, all right? Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Okay. Chapter 29. Call him over right this instant, Shalian said. The chapter's called Toppled Golden Statue. The boar buries the suffering sun. Feng Xin pressed the index and middle fingers of his right hand against his temple, connecting with Mu Qing in the spiritual communication array. Out in the temple yard, Qirong clicked his tongue. Yong'an, so you crawled out of the middle of nowhere dump. Barren lands really do produce unruly fruit. Think you can rob the gods just because you're poor? Then I won't steal, Lang Yin said. I will pay my respects and worship this god of yours right now. I will kneel and kowtow and beg him to give me money to save the lives of the people of my hometown. But will he give it to me? Qirong was momentarily stumped. He grumbled inwardly. If I say yes, is this guy gonna run away with all that money full of conviction? Thus he replied, His Highness the Crown Prince is a god now, and gods are busy as hell. Who has the time to mind unruly people like you? Lang Ying nodded slowly at this. I didn't think he'd care either. It's not like we never prayed or begged, but it didn't work at all. Those who are meant to die still die. Shalian was shaken. You, so disrespectful in the halls of a god! Aren't you afraid of his condemnation? A cultivator shouted. It doesn't matter anymore, Lang Ying replied. He can condemn me if he likes. I'm no longer afraid of his neglect. So why should I be afraid of his condemnation? Oh, he's done. Lang Ying is fucking done. Qirong gave a wave. A number of guards waiting on the side rushed forward, surrounded that young man, and started beating him down. Feng Xin was still hard at work, softening their attacks where he could, so it only appeared that Lang Ying was being pulverized. But the man himself just looked confused. He didn't dodge nor evade, and only occasionally raised his hands to protect the satchel on his back. Meanwhile, Qirong had grabbed a handful of melon seeds and munched as he jiggled his leg. Beat him! Beat him hard, in the name of this prince! Truly, the very image of a villain. At hearing him call his own title, Lang Yin's head shot up. You're a prince? Prince of what? Do you live in the palace? Can you meet with the king? I'm your granddaddy, Qirong spat. You still think you can see the king, don't you? His Majesty's got a million things on his plate. He ain't got time for you. Lang Yin craned his neck up. Why hasn't he got time for me? The gods don't have time, and neither does his Majesty, so who has time to hear me? Just who should I go to? He demanded stubbornly. Does the king know how many people have died in Yong'an? Do the people of the imperial capital know? If they know, why would they rather throw money in the water than give it to us? It's our money and we'll spend it as we will, Qirong scoffed. Even if we skip it over the water like stones, it's nobody's damn business. Why do we have to give it to you when you're entitled to it just because you're poor? Damn. There was some logic in what he said, but it was incredibly inappropriate for the time and place. Shalian was about to find a way to seal Qirong's mouth shut when a black-clad youth rushed over from behind the palace. Your Highness sent for me? Shalian waved him over. Mu Qing, come quickly. In all the prayers you've reviewed recently, have you heard anything about a drought in Yong'an? Mu Qing was taken aback. No, I haven't. As he continued to manage his own task, Feng Xin snapped. How couldn't you? Refugees have already fled here. It was said in a tone so sharp that Mooching's face stiffened. He replied in a harsh tone. I told the truth. There really wasn't anything. Are you trying to say I'm purposely withholding information? Well, did you hear anything yourself? I'm on the duty of the Temple of the Crown Prince during odd months, and you're on duty for even months. If there really were people from Yong'an praying for the end of a drought, there's no reason the drought-related prayers would only come in during odd months, while you heard nothing. Mooching gets accused of, like, intentionally withholding information or, like, intentionally fucking things up a lot, you know? And there's always kind of a little bit of truth in it. So we'll see. Function paused and realized that was certainly true. I didn't say you did it on purpose. You always overthink these things. He fucking literally just did, though. It seemed they were ready to start quarreling again. Shalian gestured for them to pause, feeling his head throb. All right, Function didn't mean anything by it. Both of you stop. Stop this instant. I feel like the reason why they don't work so well is because Function is kind of like a stereotypical dumb guy that, like, just doesn't think before he talks, and Mooching overthinks everything. He's very calculating and smart and careful with his own words, and Function is not. And then Function gets shocked when people, like, take his words as more than what they were, you know? The two immediately stopped arguing. Incidentally, it was just then that Qirong finally grew tired of watching his subordinates beat up on Lang Ying. He grabbed for a small pouch to dump all the melon seed shells into as he gave an order to the guards. Drag that thieving crook to prison and lock him up. The guards acknowledged the command with a yes sir, and several of them picked up Lang Ying. Let's deal with the problem at hand, Shalian said. We'll save this man first, and I'll ask him about the about Yong'an properly later. Mooching's expression relaxed, and he asked cautiously, Your Highness, how do you plan on doing that? You can't show yourself so easily. Since his ascension, that was one of the rules Shalian just couldn't understand. The heavenly officials all talked about helping the common people, and yet they also put on airs, positioned themselves above mortals, and barred themselves from appearing before them at will. Shalian was restricted at every turn, which caused him endless frustration. Thankfully, he also had ways to get around this problem. Without a thought, and without looking back, he reached out and pushed. The people standing before them noticed the shadow on the ground vaguely shaking and turned around in confusion. The next moment, Qirong yelled in horror, Cousin Crown Prince! Shalian had pushed his own divine statue over. That kind, beautiful sword and flower-holding golden statue swayed back and forth, then slowly listed to the side. Qirong looked as though he'd just seen his own mother kick out the stool while hanging herself, aghast to the extreme. He lost all care for Lang Ying as he rushed desperately to cling onto the leg of the statue, stubbornly trying to keep it upright and screaming heart-rendingly as he did. What are you useless piece of trash waiting for? Help me hold him up! Don't let Cousin Crown Prince fall! He can't fall! Damn. Thank you, the Wizard of Moss. While he was terrified to distraction, Shalian calmly and casually passed by him and stepped out of the hall. Function and Mooching's expressions were positively dumbfounded. It took a moment before Function finally cried, Your Highness! That was your own divine statue! A toppled statue was a bad omen, so doing the toppling was more or less taboo. A heavenly official who'd pushed over his own statue like that was unheard of, a rarity in all the three realms. It's only a big hunk of gold, Shalian said. If I didn't do that, I wouldn't have caught their attention. You two go and hold the golden statue down. Keep them in place. I'm going to meet with that man. Function and Mooching were still speechless and could do nothing but obey. They stood next to that divine statue and each used just one finger to press down on it. That small bit of power was all they needed. The ones holding it up on the other side had to use every ounce of their strength, and they could still only keep the half-toppled status quo, their teeth clenched hard. As expected of true, solid gold, such weight! As for Lang Ying, he'd long since fallen on his bottom, and he now noticed that the guards were no longer concerned with him. He stared at the golden shrine of the divine statue for a long while before he rose to his feet, dusted himself off, and hurried away, carrying his satchel. Shalian followed behind, watching. Lang Ying ran for a fair distance and entered a lush and heavy forest, then looked around before sitting down under a tree to rest. Shalian hid behind that tree, then cast a spell with a casual hand seal to transform himself into the form of a young, white-clad cultivator. After the transformation, he looked himself up and down to ensure there was nothing amiss. He was fiddling with his whisk, thinking about how to approach without appearing too abruptly, when he noticed that Lang Yang was squatting next to a puddle by the tree and busying himself with digging a hole in the ground. ... The young man's hands were large, and one swipe was enough to create a wide, deep gouge. Dirt flew as he dug, and he looked much like a very lean black wolf dog. Shalian was just wondering why the man had suddenly started digging when he saw Lang Ying wipe the mud off his pants, scoop a handful of water with both hands, and bring it to his lips. At the sight of this, Shalian couldn't hide anymore and rushed out. He stopped the man's hands and passed him a water bottle as he retrieved from his chinken sleeves. Lang Ying's cheeks were already round with a mouthful of puddle water, and he swallowed it down. He gazed at this little cultivator who had appeared so suddenly, but he didn't question it, nor did he reject the offer. He took the water bottle and gulped down its entire contents in one go. Only after did he finish did he utter, "Thanks." Since he had already appeared so abruptly, Shalian stopped caring about having a natural opening line. He tried his best to swing his whisk transcendently, like someone worthy of trust. "My friend, where did you come from, and where are you going?" "We came from the Bay of Lang-Ar in the city of Yong'an. I was going to head to the Imperial Palace, but I've changed my mind. I'm not going anymore." Shalian was taken aback. "We?" Lang Ying nodded. "We. Me and my son." Shalian was growing even more confused, but his heart was sinking. He watched as Lang Ying removed the satchel from his back and opened it. "My son." Inside that satchel he'd been carrying on his back was the dead body of a small child. The child was a tiny creature who looked more than 2 or 3 years of age. His face was yellow, his cheeks sallow, and his head had a few sparse strands of thin, yellowing hair stuck to it. Rashes streaked across his skin. The little face was twisted into a strange expression, as if holding back tears and terribly miserable. His eyes were already closed, but his mouth was still open, though no sound would ever come from it again. Shalian's pupils shrank, his spirit shocked to the core, unable to speak. No wonder he had felt that this young man had a strange air about him. He couldn't have explained what that strangeness was, only that he was abnormal. The way he spoke, the way he behaved, it was like he didn't consider consequences at all. He was blunt and berserk and entirely reckless. But at this point, why would he need to consider consequences? Damn. After showing him his son, Lang Ying wrapped the child anew, carefully tucking the cloth around him. "Hey, Hayu's Homophobia, what's up? Thank you for donating. Hey guys, I finally got my sister into Tgcf and she really likes Shiwudu based on character photos. She'll be awfully disappointed." Hey, he is hot. He's got a great head of hair. Thank you so much for donating, Hayu. I hope your sister continues to enjoy it. Seeing how focused he was on his action made Shalian miserable. It was his very first time seeing the corpse of such a young child. He asked, stammering, How did your son die?" Lang Ying adjusted the satchel on his back and replied, bemused, "How did he die? I don't know that either. Thirst, hunger, sickness, maybe a bit of everything." He scratched his head. "When I first carried him out of Yong'an, he would still cough a bit, and he called for me from my back. 'Dad! Dad!' Eventually, there was no more of that, only coughing. And then there were no more coughs. I thought he'd fallen asleep. Later, when I found something to eat and tried to wake him up, he wouldn't." The child had died on the road of escape. Oh, God. Lang Ying shook his head. "I don't know how to take care of children. If my wife knew our son died, she'd scold me to death." After a moment of silence, he added, "I really wish my wife could still scold me." His expression had stayed calm the entire time, like a branch snapped from a withered tree, or a pool of dead water without ripples or any trace of life. Shalian's throat constricted, unable to swallow. Moments later, he suggested in a small voice, Why don't you bury him?" Lang Ying nodded. "Yeah, I wanted to pick a nice place. Here's not bad. There are trees to block the sun, and water too. I'll go back after burying him. Thanks for your water." He coughed a few times and bent down again, continuing to dig with his hands. Shalian mumbled softly, "No, don't thank me. Don't thank me. Don't." Just then, Feng Xin and Mu Qing arrived, and they were greeted with the confusing sight of one person digging a hole and another watching in a daze. Shalian wasn't in the mood to speak and just kept muttering a few incoherent words. It was some time before Shalian remembered that simply giving water wasn't enough. This man was returning to Yong'an. Thus, his hand went back into his sleeve and rummaged around. Finally, finding what he was looking for, he passed it over. Here, take this. Lang Ying stopped and looked closely at the item in Shalian's hand. It was a deep red pearl, no bigger than a fingernail, its luster smooth and sleek, polished and brilliant, and soul-stirringly beautiful. Even if he didn't know what it was, a simple glance made it obvious this little thing was invaluable. This was in fact the remaining red coral pearl earring that Shalian had worn during the Shangyuan Heavenly ceremonial procession 3 years before. That pearl had left a deep impression on Mu Qing, so the moment he saw it, his face changed. Lang Ying didn't reject it. He took it directly, as if the proper manners and concerns of a normal person had long since left him. Thanks. He carefully tucked the pearl into his belt, and then he removed the satchel on his back and gently laid it onto the pit he'd dug. Dad will come back very soon to visit you. Finished, he solemnly pushed the earth back to cover the satchel. Shalian put his hand on his forehead and closed his eyes. A moment later, the young man strode away. Fengshen was bewildered. Your Highness, what did he bury here? He said, Dad? He buried someone? Mu Qing was concerned with something else. Your Highness, I looked into what happened. Yong'an has never been a wealthy place. Their temples and shrines are few in number. It seems they also have a local rule where those who don't offer donations can't pray. So those who visited the temples of the Crown Prince have all been wealthy. The suffering poor can't even enter. That's crazy. Shalian didn't respond to the report. He said in a dark voice, You two go. Go to Yong'an and see what the situation is. I will go meet the state preceptor and ask him exactly what's going on. He had never looked this upset before. His 2 subordinates didn't dare to be negligent. They acknowledged his command and departed an instant later. Shalian himself turned and raced in the direction of Mount Taisong. It appeared that the situation in Yong'an could only be a major disaster, not a small disturbance. Even if he himself couldn't hear the voices of prayer, it hardly meant those at the imperial palace were so uninformed. Chapter 30. Gods of Heaven Observe Mortal Matters. Mount Taisong, the Crown Prince Summit. It was the time of day when the crowds of visitors could no longer linger and were asked to leave the royal holy temple. The sounds of chanting sutras echoed in waves from within the palace of Shanla, and over 1,000 cultivators were conducting their evening lessons with the 4 state preceptors leading the service beneath the feet of the 15-meter-high golden divine statue. Within the temple of the Crown Prince, innumerable offering lamps lined the walls on both sides from floor to ceiling. Shalian descended from the sky, landed lightly on the altar, and took a seat right before his own statue. He waved, and a light breeze blew from out of nowhere, making the countless lamps spin gently, their lights blurring. The cultivators looked up and began to whisper in awe amongst themselves. The state preceptor, who was sitting slumped with his eyes closed, suddenly blinked them open. That'll be it for today. You are all dismissed. The cultivators rose to their feet and left. The other 3 deputy state preceptors couldn't see Shalian's true form, but they could guess that some being had descended, so they also departed the hall and closed the temple doors behind them. Once those tall doors were shut, Shalian immediately began to speak, unable to wait another second. State Preceptor, did you know about the drought in Yong'an? There's been no word from Father, so did something happen at court? Or is he simply unaware of the exact situation? Heavenly officials were not permitted to show themselves before mortals without explicit permission from on high, but there was only one exception to the rule, and that was appearing before high-level cultivators, such as state preceptors or religious ministers. Those who had cultivated to certain levels were representatives of heavenly officials in the mortal realm, and this was why Shalian could speak directly to the state preceptor. The no prostrating within the Temple of Crown Prince rule was thus dictated through the mouth of the state preceptor from Shalian. He had originally thought there was some sort of extreme circumstance, an exceptional issue the king couldn't extricate himself from to handle the disaster in Yong'an, something that had tied his hands, or something that had prevented him from realizing that things were so deadly serious. Unexpectedly, however, the state preceptor replied, His Majesty the King is in satisfactory health, nothing major has happened, and he knows very well of what's happening in Yong'an. Ooh, this is so fucked. Shalian was taken aback. Then how come in all the times Father's visited the royal holy temple I've never heard him pray for Yong'an once, not even a word? Even if he didn't get along well with his father, he also knew that the king was not a fatuous ruler. while the man revered hierarchy, saw himself as the son of the heavens above the common folk, that didn't mean he was indifferent to the plight of refugees. The state preceptor replied, "This has nothing to do with His Majesty. I am the one who advised that neither he nor the queen mention young Anne in their prayers." "Groshi, you bitch!" "Why?" Shalian demanded. "Because it's pointless," the state preceptor stated. Shalian was shocked. "What do you mean, pointless?" He paused for a moment and worked over the state preceptor's words in his mind. "Are you saying that because I'm a martial god with no control over droughts, telling me would be pointless? I may be a martial god, but I'm also the crown prince of Shanla. Or did you forget? My people are mired in misery. How can I sit back and do nothing?" After a thought, he continued, "The priority right now is to save and settle the disaster victims. Please speak to my father on my behalf and tell him to stop constructing these temples. There are already too many. Temples of the crown prince in this kingdom. I don't need them all. And those golden statues, they could be melted down to help allocate funds for the disaster. Young Anne is to the west and they need water. So let's dig a river and divert water from the east to irrigate the crops and nourish the land." As he spoke, the state preceptor only shook his head, muttering to himself, "Too early, too early." Shalian didn't understand. What's too early? "Do you understand now why I said you shouldn't ascend too early?" the state preceptor asked. "It's because your people haven't died out yet." ... Shalian's eyes widened and his voice grew dark and furious. "State preceptor, what are you saying? What do you mean my people haven't died out yet?" "You've already become a god, but you can't forget who you were as a mortal. You're unable to let go and differentiate between the two realms," the state preceptor replied. "You're involving yourself, but you are also powerless, and the results will be an utter mess." Shalian was seated upon the altar, and the state preceptor stood below. Even though it was obvious Shalian was the one looking down, when the state preceptor spoke, it was as if he were the one above. "How can I be powerless? As long as I act, there will be results. Every little bit counts. Even if I can only save one person, that's still better than indifference and inaction. If you will not speak to my father on my behalf, then I will seek him out myself," Shalian said. He shot to his feet, but the state preceptor seized a corner of his sleeve, yelling, "Come back! Do you know why heavenly officials aren't allowed to show themselves before mortals at will? A law that's existed for thousands of years exists for a reason. Don't do anything foolish." Shalian whipped his head back. "Then what can I do? I can't do this, I can't do that. State preceptor, there are people dying right now in my land. Are gods not called gods because they can save people? If I don't appear now, then when can I appear? What will my ascension even mean?" The state preceptor held him down, sighing. "Your Highness, Your Highness, do you know what I've seen?" Shalian calmed himself before sitting again. "Please enlighten me." The state preceptor stared hard at him. "I've seen your future, and it's pitch black." Shalian looked him straight in the eyes. "You must be mistaken. I only like to wear white." Damn! It's one of the best fucking lines ever. Oh my god. That's so good. It's so good. Oh, Ryan. Okay, Shalian's all jokes right now. Brat Gaga, yeah! "I worry that not only will you be able to save your people, they will turn around and drag you down from that divine altar," the state preceptor said. "My people are not like that. They can clearly recognize what is right and what is wrong. If I cannot save them, then there's no meaning to me being on this altar anyway," Shalian replied. It was a good while before the state preceptor sighed again. "What your father has done can't be called right, but it can't be called wrong either. You said to allocate funds, but it's not like your father hasn't tried. You can go see how effective that's been. And you said to dig a river to divert the waters. Go to that river yourself and determine whether it can be done." Shalian bowed his head. "I understand. Thank you, state preceptor." Not wrong, but it's still right. What is this little mushroom? Upon leaving Mount Taisong, he headed westward and arrived at the city of Yong'an within the kingdom of Shanla. In the 20 years of his life, Shalian had never imagined the sun could be so scorching and deadly. With every step he could feel how unbearably hot and dry the earth was. It was like the air around him was controlled with it. In the blazing sunlight, the land had cracked into broken chunks that looked horrifyingly aged. There was a deep gutter by the roadside that seemed to have been a river once, but now it was dry to the bottom, and the blackened riverbed emitted a strange stench. He walked for a long time and didn't see a single paddy field. Maybe there had been fields once, but at this point they were unrecognizable. Yeah, Levza, exactly, right? Shalian looked around as he walked. That hot, dry breeze blew in his hair into a mess, but he was too preoccupied to care. Just then, someone suddenly called from him from behind. "Your Highness!" Shalian turned his head and saw two figures in black approaching in a rush. It was Feng Xin and Mu Qing. Shalian cut straight to the point. "Any news?" Feng Xin flapped the front of his shirt to fan himself. "Yes, over the past 2 years, the whole Western Territory has been going through a water shortage, and things finally blew up this year. Yong'an is the worst affected. The river's dry and the rain doesn't fall, so the crops won't grow. The wealthier families are still faring all right. As long as there's money, food and water can be bought from elsewhere. However, most of the wealthy have already moved to the Eastern Territories. Those who are left are either poor or unable to survive the move." Shalian knitted his brows. "The state preceptor said my father didn't just sit back, that he gave the order to send disaster relief, so why is it still so serious?" When funds go through government checkpoints, each checkpoint skims off a little bit to line their own pockets, until finally there's nothing left. Of course it's still this serious, Mu Qing said coldly. "If it were up to me, I would have preferred not to send anything at all, rather than feed those parasites." Shalian's breath hitched. Forcing his anger down, he stated, "I will tell those parasites to regurgitate every single penny they've devoured." He's so good. I love him. I fucking love him, man. "Your Highness, did you forget?" Mu Qing reminded him. "This is not within your purview. Heavenly officials can't interfere in mortal matters. A meter of ice isn't formed by a single cold day. His Majesty the King is the one responsible for the mortal realm. This is his duty. If even he can't manage it, how will you fix it when you've already got your hands full of countless prayers from your devotees? If you concern yourself with this and that, in the end you'll only bring problems upon yourself. Besides, that would only cure the symptoms, not the root cause." Feng Xin blocked out the sun with his hand. "To cure the root cause, there needs to be water. For now, why don't your Highness have the state preceptor tell His Majesty to divert the water from the east to the west?" Shalian shook his head. "I already suggested that to the state preceptor." "What did he say?" Feng Xin asked. ... Shalian was momentarily stumped. "That it's not feasible, more or less. But I realize now that it really can't be done. To redirect the water, we'd need to dig the river, but something like digging a canal would require mass conscription. But who knows how many years that'd take, and it only exhausts the people in the treasury. It won't work." Feng Xin nodded. True enough, distant waters can't extinguish nearby fires. Shalian hummed. "But this can't be solved by mortal means. Maybe we can try divine methods. I heard there's been a change of rain masters in recent years. The newly ascended rain master seems like a reclusive person, but I'll see if I can pay a visit and request that eastern waters be moved westward as rain." Since Shalian's ascension, he never paid any personal visits to any other heavenly officials, aside from greeting Jun Wu, and never tried to purposely befriend anyone, treating all equally within the spiritual communication array. His taking the initiative to pay visits was thus a rare occasion. Mu Qing, however, objected. "No." Shalian turned to regard him. "Why not?" "Your Highness, I've investigated thoroughly. The truth is, in the past 2 years, it's not just Yong'an or the Western Territory that's been experiencing a shortage of water, but the entire kingdom of Shanle. The Eastern Territory is close to the sea and is surrounded by lakes and ravines, so it's not as obvious and hasn't become an issue yet. But overall, the amount of water and rain has significantly decreased from previous levels." Shalian's eyes widened as Mu Qing continued. "If we really dug up a canal or used rain to move water from the east to the west, it might temporarily relieve Yong'an, but it wouldn't save it completely. It would only help them hang on by a thread. Meanwhile, it could very well doom the Eastern Territory." Shalian's heart seized. And most of the population of Shanle, along with most of prosperous places, are in the east. It's more than 3 times the size of the west, and contains the imperial capital. If a drought were to happen there... Feng Xin immediately understood as well. The consequences would be significantly more serious than in Yong'an, and the number of deaths greater. Muqing nodded, his expression solemn. It would give birth to a much larger disaster. Shalian took a deep breath. So, is that what the state preceptor meant when he said that what Father did wasn't right, but it wasn't wrong either? That he made this choice? Which is why, Your Highness, that no one praying for help at your temple was a good thing, Muqing said. Leave it to His Majesty to decide what to do. Shalian didn't respond. He looked back. The entire time they walked, every person he saw was nothing but skin and bones. Men and children had the upper bodies bare, rows of ribs visible and clear on their torsos, and the women had dead eyes and faces empty of life. No one moved much. They didn't have the energy. The foul stench of death hung over everything. It made one want to scream, to escape this decaying earth and return to the glory of the flourishing imperial capital. It was a long time before he finally spoke. You two stay here and assist me. Deliver as much water as you can. Let me think about this. Fine. Go and think it over carefully, Fengxian said. Just let me know what to do once you've decided. Shalian patted his shoulder, then turned to leave. Behind him, Muqing said quietly, Your Highness, do think this through carefully. We can help for 10 days, maybe 20, but not a year or two. We can save 100 lives, but not 100,000. You're a martial god, after all, not the god of water. And even if you were the god of water, you couldn't create water from nothing. If we can't fix the root of this problem, we won't be able to keep it going. Our plans are inadequate, like using a cup of water to douse a burning cart of firewood. Oh, it's not so good. It's not so good. Drought's never fun. Punch the clouds. Yeah. I'm just gonna go get some water. The joke wasn't even intended. Pancakes. Just have to text my dad really quick. All right. Oh, Kate says I posted a Shalian doodle on the community. Let me see. Oh. Oh my god, Kate, that is gorgeous. See, he just wants everybody to be happy. He just wants everybody to have some water. Kate, your art is absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing, Kate. Oh my god. The little butterflies giving him little kisses. Oh. It's beautiful. Gee says, geez, don't you know people are dehydrating in Yong'an and here you are drinking it all to yourself? It's true. Okay. 31. To meet you in the mortal realm to find flowers beneath the rain. Shalian briefly paused in his step at Muqing's words, but in the end, he didn't turn back. He waved, then continued on. When he returned to the capital Shanla, Shalian headed straight for the imperial palace. He didn't know why he was going there, since it wasn't exactly to see his parents, and that wasn't because he was a heavenly official and forbidden to show himself before mortals. After he first left home, and in the years that had passed, he didn't really know how to start conversations with his parents anymore, a common sentiment for every child in the world. Thus, he concealed himself and ran haphazardly about the palace he was so familiar with. But His Majesty the King was nowhere to be found. It was only when he went to Chifeng Palace that he came across his father and mother. The two had just dismissed the palace attendants and were chatting between themselves. The queen sat on the side of the bed. The mask that she was fiddling with was the very one that Shalian had worn 3 years ago at the heavenly ceremonial procession. The shape of the gold mask had been carefully molded to Shalian's features, which was why it had fit him so perfectly and comfortably when he had worn it. When others saw the mask, the degree of similarity with his real face was almost frightening. "Stop playing around with that and come massage my temples," the king chided. Even though the king and the queen kept up an act of perfection in front of the people, Shalian had seen clearly from a young age that behind the scenes his parents bickered and nagged each other like any normal married couple. The queen put down the mask as expected and moved to the king's side to help rub his temples. She combed through his hair and suddenly remarked, "You've got more white in your hair again." Shalian took a closer look. True to his mother's words, his father's hair was graying on the sides, and it aged him a few years. Didn't father visit the royal holy temple to pray just a little while ago? He wondered. His hair was still black then. How did it go gray so suddenly? The queen handed the king a copper mirror, but he pushed it away. "No need to see. Just dye it black again before we visit Mount Taisong." It was then Shalian realized his hair didn't go gray recently. It grayed a long time ago. It's just that he's been dyeing it black every time he comes to see me. I've been too occupied listening to the prayers of my devotees and running around. I rarely made time to come back and visit. That's why I didn't suspect anything. The conclusion filled Shalian with guilt. For once, he was glad his parents couldn't see him. As the queen massaged the king's head, she scolded. "I told you to rest early, every evening, yet you never listened to me, and you even accused me of nagging you day and night. Now look at how unsightly you've become. If our son saw, he definitely wouldn't want anything to do with you." The king huffed. "Ever since your son grew up and spread his wings, he stopped caring about me anyway." Despite his words, he still couldn't help but take a peek at the copper mirror by the bedside, and he grumbled, "I don't look that bad. Isn't it still the same face?" Shalian was stunned in spite of himself. He'd never seen this side of his father before, complaining about him behind his back with such petulance. He couldn't help but smile. The queen obviously felt the same, and she held back her laughter. Okay, it's not that awful. Your health is much more important than the heavens, so rest early today." The king shook his head. "I cannot. A number of people from Yong'an have settled in the capital lately. If they want to come, that's fine, but they just have to make a nuisance of themselves and make the people uneasy. It's a tricky situation." As it turned out, his father's hair was going gray because of the drought in Yong'an. An indescribable misery seized Shalian. The queen nodded. "Rongar told me he met someone from Yong'an today as well. Apparently the man tried to steal money from the temple. How frightening." The king was solemn. "Indeed, it's shocking. If there were only tens or hundreds of them, then it would be fine. But if all 100,000s of them came here to scurry about the capital, the impact would be unimaginable." The queen debated for a moment before she said, "That might not happen. If they follow the law and keep to themselves, then let them come." "As the king of a nation, how can I take a risk on something that might not happen?" he replied. "They absolutely cannot come. Looking after a few more people is not as simple as placing a few more sets of chopsticks down at a table. There are many complications involved that you don't understand. This conversation is over." "Okay, let's not talk about this anymore," the queen soothed. "I didn't understand the things you spoke of to begin with. If only our son was still here, then he could at least help take some of the burden off of you." The king humphed. Him? What could he do? As long as he doesn't cause me any more worries, that's good enough. At the mention of Shalian, the king seemed to liven up again. "That son of yours, he's already in his teens, but he was raised like a princess. Even if he learned about everything that's happening, it won't do any good. It would just add to his worries for no reason. Let him keep flying in the sky. It's best if he doesn't know anything. He should do his own thing. He's not the crown prince anymore, so there's no need for him to care about matters in the mortal realm. He loves to fly, so let him fly to his heart's content." Aww. Shalian listened silently as his father grew increasingly excited in recounting his faults. Without a knowing smile on her face, the queen nudged the king. Now you call him a princess. Aren't you the one who spoiled our princess since he was young? And now you want to blame it all on me. She sighed. That child is good at everything except missing home. He was already like this back when he was studying at the Royal Holy Temple. He'd only visit once every few months. It's worse now that he's ascended. We haven't seen him once in 3 years. Who knows if we'll ever see him again? Her complaint had the king turn around and start defending Shalian. What would a woman know? The state preceptor said those were the laws of heaven. How can we still treat him like a common mortal? If you call your son back, you'll be weighing him down. I'm only saying, the queen quickly explained herself. I won't make any demands in front of him. Then she muttered, It's not so bad when I can look at the statues. They resemble him closely enough, and they're everywhere. Aww. As he watched them for such a long time, an ache grew in Shalian's heart. It felt like there was a hard lump lodged in his throat, making it painful to swallow. He couldn't bear to stay hidden any longer, yet he couldn't reveal himself. It wasn't because he was afraid of breaking heaven's laws, but rather because even now he still didn't know what to say. He didn't have any solutions for the situation in Young Anne. If he were to suddenly appear, it would only cause his parents more agitation and stress. He quickly retreated from the imperial palace. The moment he was outside, Shalian drew in several deep breaths, and it was only then that he was finally able to calm down. He steadied himself and pulled himself together. Then, deciding that action was better than standing around and sighing, he cast a spell and transformed himself into a plainly dressed young cultivator. He ran around the capital, digging for information and recording his findings. After a full day of work and traveling all over, he finally got the answers he wanted. Indeed, the water level of every lake and river within the Shanla capital was lower than in previous years. Back when he was still at the Royal Holy Temple, there were a few times when he snuck down the mountain to play. As he rowed his boat happily along the largest river that crossed through the kingdom of Shanla, the water level was just a bit short of the levee, but now it was several meters below, and the residents of the city had said it had been like that for a while. This wasn't something that happened overnight. Before this, Shalian hadn't paid much attention, but now that he knew to look, he was shocked to see all the warning signs so clearly. He had originally hoped there'd been some mistake in Mu Qing's report and thus decided to come and see for himself, but now he couldn't deny that Mu Qing had never let him down before. Once again, Mu Qing catching strays. Once the situation was confirmed, Shalian stood there in a trance by the riverside, deep in contemplation. Pedestrians passed behind him from time to time. Some nodded and smiled, others looked on curiously, but most went about happily minding their own business. He'd lost track of how long he'd been standing there when, quietly, clouds gathered from the edge of the skies, and a pitter-patter sounded from all around. It had started to rain. Numerous pedestrians on the street looked up to the sky. What bad luck! It's raining! Let's hurry back. Yeah, how annoying! Plip-plop, plip-plop. Raindrops beat down on Shalian's face and clothes, and he finally came to his senses. It's raining? He muttered to himself. When the people in the capital saw rain, they dropped everything to find shelter. Heavens knew how many on the other side of Shanla would die for a rainstorm like this. A group of people with umbrellas ran past, and when they saw Shalian standing there alone, getting soaked by the rain, they beckoned him along. Young cultivator, why aren't you getting out of the rain? It's clearly coming down. In his haze of confusion, Shalian somehow started running along too and found himself seeking shelter under a long roof. Soon after, the group tucked away their umbrellas and broke out in laughter. Thank goodness I brought an umbrella with me when I saw it was cloudy, or else I would have been a drowned rat. It hasn't rained for a long time, right? The storm is way overdue, so it's going to be a big one. Oh my goodness, look! It really is pouring harder. It's going to turn into a deluge at this rate. The raindrops beat down on the ground, shattering and splattering outward. These people spoke in such familiar, endearing accent, and Shalian felt in his heart that this was his home. This was the place where he was born and grew up, and these were the citizens he knew. As the chit-chat continued, the rain gradually lightened. A few urged, "We should hurry and go while it's eased up." The men opened their umbrellas and stepped out from under the roof, one after another. Shalian still stood where he was, however. A couple of them glanced back, and after a brief discussion among themselves, one came over and handed him a worn umbrella. "Young cultivator, can't you go back?" he asked politely. "It's still pouring, so why don't you take this umbrella?" Shalian snapped out of his daydream. "Thank you very much, but what about you?" A few people from the group in the rain called out, "We've got more umbrellas that we can all squeeze under. Let's go, let's go." Urged by his companions, the man stuffed the umbrella in Shalian's hand and ran back. The pattering sounds of their footsteps slowly faded away in the distance as Shalian stood there for a while longer, holding onto the umbrella. Suddenly, he caught a glimpse of an inconspicuous shrine not too far away. This is crazy. This is crazy. He opened his umbrella and walked towards it in the rain. Upon a closer look, the two sides of the small shrine doors were written with verses: "Body in the abyss, heart in paradise." As it turned out, this was a shrine of the Crown Prince. Since 8,000 temples had been raised in only 3 years, it was natural that not every one of them was as extravagant or awe-inspiring as the one on Mount Taisong. Among them were quite a few that were built by people's grassroots efforts to help achieve that lofty number and join in on the excitement. Not only were there no donation boxes here, there were also no temple attendants. The only thing that this shrine had were a clay statue and a couple of offering plates filled with assorted fruit and refreshments. His more conscientious believers would come by once in a while to freshen the place up a little, and that alone sufficed for a shrine. To think he'd find a shrine of the Crown Prince in such a well-hidden, inconspicuous nook! Without stepping in, Shalian could already make out what could be described as a charmingly tacky Crown Prince statue, wearing gaudy clothing and with a broad, silly smile on its big, round, powdery white face. The statue was practically a big doll. If his mind weren't so weighed down by his own thoughts, Shalian definitely would have laughed out loud. In the past 3 years, Shalian had seen at least 3,000, if not 5,000, Crown Prince statues. However, not a single one of them looked exactly like him. Even the ones closest to the mark were only about 2/3 of the way there. As for the rest, they were all either too ugly or too beautiful. Most of the divine statues of other heavenly officials were too ugly, yet Shalian had the exact opposite problem. There were some that were beautiful beyond recognition, to the point that it embarrassed him. He didn't really take a close look at that clay statue at first, his eyes merely sweeping across the area, but a snow-white blur unexpectedly caught his eye and grabbed his attention. Grasped in the left hand of that crude, clay Crown Prince statue was a flower that was white as snow. Oh. Crystal dew clung to that delicate, pure white petals. A wisp of its fresh fragrance wafted in the air, the scent lovely and endearing. Starmander brought up a really interesting point, so there hasn't been any statues so far that look like him. The signature pose of Crown Prince statues was sword in one hand, flower in the other. But the flower held in the hand would, of course, be a finely crafted flower of gold, gems, or jade. This was the first time Shalian had seen a real flower clasped in the statue's hand, and he couldn't help but lean in for a better look. After examining it, he realized that this Crown Prince statue had probably held a clay flower once upon a time. Whether it fell due to the sculptor's poor skills or if someone had intentionally plucked it as a prank, only a small hole remained in the left fist, and that little white flower had been placed in this hole. If there was a believer who had picked a flower specially to fill the vacancy, they were a most conscientious believer indeed. Shalian's thoughts came to a halt when he heard the hurried footsteps. He didn't look back immediately. Instead, he hid his physical form and lightly leapt onto the altar with umbrella in hand, then turned around to look down. A young boy, no older than 12 or 13, barged in from the gray, foggy rain outside. He was soaked from head to toe, dressed in filthy old clothes, and his face was covered in equally filthy bandages. His right fist was clutched tightly over his left, like he was protecting something important, and he only opened his hands when he entered the shrine. A single tiny flower as white as snow bloomed quietly in his palms. Shalian hummed softly as if he had just remembered something. A face wrapped in a layer of bandages inevitably reminded him of the child he had met 3 years ago, though he couldn't be sure of the boy's identity. Pessimistically, could that child really still be alive 3 years after fleeing Mount Taisong? Just then, the boy came forward. He lifted himself up on tiptoes and swapped the flower on the clay statue with the one in his hands. From atop the altar, Shalian could see it as clear as day. The petals of this new flower were fuller and even more delicate, the flower more radiant. From the strong fragrance, it was clear that this flower was freshly picked. Could this boy be visiting this lonely shrine every day to provide a fresh flower for this clay statue? Moreover, after offering the flower, the boy stood in front of the clay crown prince statue. Unlike everyone else who stubbornly insisted on kneeling, he pressed his hands together and silently prayed while standing. He actually followed Shalian's wishes. He's so good. Oh, wait. I forgot. I have the baby. I have him. Oh. He can stay with me. Stay. It had been 3 years. Among all of Shalian's followers who had prayed, he could count government officials, nobles, names that were known across the land, and talents who would impress the heavens. And yet Shalian felt the sincerest of them all was this child, who looked barely over 13, and who had probably been barred entry to those fancier golden temples simply because of his humble clothing, and had no choice but to pay his respects at this simple shrine. Truly an indescribable feeling. Just then, more splashing footsteps came from outside the shrine. A rowdy group of children with umbrellas dashed past. At first, Shalian thought that they were only passing by, but they unexpectedly circled back. They clapped and acted like they had discovered something extraordinarily. Wow, the ugly freak got kicked out again! Although the kids were all around the same age as the boy in the shrine, every one of them was taller than him and looked like their parents fed them well. There was probably a holiday coming up, since they were all dressed in new clothes and shoes, and they splashed playfully in the puddles by the shrine entrance. Their innocent smiles were full of life and void of any malicious intent. It was as if they didn't really understand that ugly freak was a bad term, and didn't realize that their words would be hurtful. They probably thought it was funny. The boy clenched his fist, but that fist was so small that it wasn't threatening at all. The kids by the door teased and teased. Hey, ugly freak, are you going to be sleeping at that shrine again tonight? Watch out, your mom is going to beat the crap out of you when you get home. Shalian frowned. The boy's one eye flashed with anger under the bandages. He raised his fists and yelled furiously. I don't have a home! I don't have a mom! She's not my mom! Get out! Get out! Keep talking and I'm going to beat the crap out of you! None of the kids were scared, and they stuck out their tongues. You want to bet? Careful, we might tell your dad again and have him teach you a lesson. Okay, so clearly, I guess, Hua Cheng's mom remarried or something. Right? A few children even gave a knowing wink. Oh, right. You don't have a mom because your mom didn't want you. You don't have a home because your family doesn't want anything to do with you. That's why you have to sleep in this crappy shrine. Before they could finish, the boy let out a cry and lunged at them. Okay, interesting about the lore here. So the kids are saying you don't have a mom because your family doesn't, or you don't have a home because your family doesn't want anything to do with you. Okay, so we know his home life is not good. But you don't have a mom because your mom didn't want you. That's interesting. That makes me think that her mom was alive. His mom is alive. You don't have a mom because your mom didn't want you. I mean, the kids could just be making up their own idea of what happened, you know? Because what did Hua Cheng say about his mom? In the last, he said his mom died. Did he say my mom's gone? Or he said he fully said she died. Okay. I think that she wasn't around anymore. Yeah, I'm like, what was the actual term? I think, well, okay, so, well, what's interesting, I think the new thing we've learned here is that he says, she's not my mom, which, you know, makes you think there's like a stepmom that he clearly doesn't get along with. But the way that he spoke about his mom to Shailian makes it think like his actual mom, the one that gave him the sweet nickname, yes, is dead. Okay. So sad. For such a scrawny kid, he sure could pack a punch. That loud war cry sent a couple of the kids running scared, but the one who was now tangled up in a fight with him yelled at those who fled. What's there to be scared of? There's more of us! With that, the ones who wanted to run away returned and joined the fight, pulling at the boy's hands and feet. Shalian really couldn't just sit and watch anymore. With a wave of his hand, an invisible force shot out of nowhere and separated the boys. Then a powerful wave of puddle water surged up from the ground and knocked the pack of bullying kids off their feet. In the end, they were all still kids. After being inexplicably sent tumbling and gulping mouthfuls of muddy water as they did, their new clothes were completely soaked, and they were even filthier and uglier than the boy they had been mocking. Their boisterous laughter was replaced with loud wailing. They crawled to their feet and ran off sniffling with umbrellas in their hands. Shalian shook his head. The duty of martial gods was to ward off evil ghosts and bring protection and peace, and here he was getting tangled up in a juvenile dispute. Even though he had chased away the wrongdoers, he didn't feel accomplished at all. His gaze returned to the young boy. During that scuffle, the bandages on the boy's head had been partially yanked off, giving a peek at the other half of his face. It was quite swollen, covered in black and blue bruises. It was obvious that these injuries hadn't been caused by the brawl just now. Before Shalian could get a better look, the boy had already rewrapped his bandages without a word. He sat down by the clay statue's feet and hugged his knees close. Shalian had originally come to this Crown Prince shrine due to its convenience, and he was planning to summon Feng Xin and Mu Qing for some important discussions. But who could have expected that he'd come upon this little one? He was drawn in despite himself. Once the summons was sent, he crouched down beside the boy and stared. Not long after, a grumbling sound came from the boy's stomach. The offering plate still held a few pieces of fruit and other refreshments, dried out and probably not particularly tasty, but better than nothing. Shalian picked one and gently tossed it towards the boy. The moment he was hit by the fruit, the young boy wrapped his arms around his head and curled up defensively, as if he'd been hit by a rock and was bracing for more to follow. But after a while, he looked around and realized it was only a fruit, and that there wasn't anyone nearby. Oh my goodness. Oh. Are you coming in here or are you staying out there? You come here. Come here. Okay. That's so funny. I love how we established for so strongly that Shalian cannot show himself to anybody. He can't even fucking show himself to his family. And then he sees Hong Honger being bullied and he immediately is gonna fucking do it. I just love it. Hesitantly, he picked up the fruit, dusted it off a few times against his clothes, and returned it to the offering plate. Surprisingly, he would rather endure hunger than eat the offerings from the plate. After that, he walked towards the door and peered at the heavy downpour outside of the shrine, as if debating whether to venture out for food. However, the rain was coming down too hard. Since he didn't want to be drenched again, he walked back and curled up on the ground to sleep at the clay statue's feet. Just then, Feng Xin and Mu Qing stepped out from the back of the shrine, drawn by the summons. With weary disapproval, Feng Xin said, "Your Highness, how did you find such a small Crown Prince shrine? Why did you send out a call from here?" He looked down and suddenly noticed that he'd almost stepped on the curled-up figure on the ground and blurted out, "The fuck is this kid doing here?" Mu Ching also looked down, inspecting the child closely. He immediately asked, "Your Highness, is this the child who ran from Mount Taisong 3 years ago?" Shalian shook his head. "I can't be certain. I don't know what his name was, nor what he would look like now." While the three chatted around the unsuspecting child, the boy turned. As he wiped his face, Shalian realized there was blood running down his nose and from the corner of his mouth. Shalian felt even more strongly that he couldn't just leave him like this. "Why don't we have the child leave first?" Shalian said. "It's getting dark. The shrine isn't a good place to spend the night." "Do you think he has nowhere else to go?" Fengxian wondered. "If that's the case, then I'm afraid this is the only place where he could spend the night." "He has a home, though the situation there might not be great," Shalian said. "Even so, this shrine isn't any better. He has to leave so we can find him something to eat. He's also injured." Mu Ching spoke up. "Your Highness, please excuse my frankness, but we don't have time to bother with these minor things right now. Did you call us here because you've made a decision?" No heavenly official of the upper court would accept every prayer from every one of their devotees without exception. There were millions of followers in the world, and if heavenly officials had to attend to every single one, it would exhaust them all into early graves. This was why, every so often, they would turn a blind eye to minor or less impactful wishes and pretend they heard nothing to lessen the workload. Maybe it was due to Shalian's youth, how he was bursting with energy and passion, that he had yet to properly learn how to adapt his priorities. After some thought, he walked towards the entrance of the tiny shrine, carrying the umbrella that was gifted to him earlier by those pedestrians on the street. Shalian slowly opened the umbrella. The falling raindrops pitter-pattered hard over its surface. The boy on the ground heard the noise and thought that someone had entered and shifted slightly. But he then seemed to realize he didn't care whether someone had come or not, and he laid back down again. Shalian placed the opened umbrella by the entrance. When the boy noticed that the sound persisted, he finally found it strange enough to rise to his feet and go take a look. There he found a red umbrella leaning on the ground under the rain, like a lonesome, blooming crimson flower. He froze in surprise. I also love, and I think I forgot, that the umbrella was gifted to Shalian just as an act of kindness, like from the common people, you know? And then Shalian gifts that to Hua Cheng. Oh, thank you, Moade, for pulling up the receipts. The Wizard of Moss, I was thinking exactly that. Could be just as important as his hat, honestly, right? It's all about the rain. Quinn, we have 2 pages left. Watching the boy rush forward to grab the umbrella, Mu Ching lectured. "Your Highness, you've done more than enough. It'll complicate things needlessly if you're too obvious and he finds out." Before Shalian could reply, the young boy rushed back in and shouted from behind them, "Your Highness!" The 3 gods almost jumped in surprise and turned their heads. Cradling the umbrella in his arms, the boy's eye was reddened and filled with emotion. He lifted his head and shouted to the clay statue, "Your Highness, is that you?" Fengxian was amazed at his deduction, as if he didn't know that Shalian had helped the boy chase away his bullies and had even chucked a fruit at him. Little guy's kind of smart. He actually figured it out. Mu Ching, on the other hand, clearly suspected that something must have happened. He eyed Shalian. "If you're here, please answer my one question," the boy begged. From his place high atop the altar, Shalian heard countless pleas of "please appear before me" every day. When a sound becomes repetitive, it numbs the ear. Even so, hearing a plea like this, he still couldn't help but drop the matter at hand and perk up his ears. Beside him, Mu Ching cautioned, "Your Highness, leave it be." Shalian didn't speak. The young boy squeezed the umbrella tightly with both hands, gritting his teeth. "I'm suffering. Every day I want to die. Every day I want to kill everyone in this world, and then myself. I'm living in agony." From a boy who couldn't be older than 13, such furious words probably sounded both laughable and pitiful, but hidden inside that tiny body was something explosive, something that sustained that roaring rage. Feng Xin frowned. What's wrong with him? Kill everyone in this world? Is that really something a kid would say? We got a picture. Look at them all. Oh my god, the fucking, like, fuck-ass statue. Oh. He's still young, Muqing replied flatly. When he gets older, he'll know that whatever he's going through now isn't anything. Wow. After a pause, he looked at Shalian. There are too many sufferings in this world. Take Young An's drought, for example. Name one Young An citizen who has it better than him. There's no need to bother with this, Your Highness. Let's focus on our priorities. Perhaps, Shalian said softly. One person's suffering probably looked insignificant to another. The boy was still looking up at the statue. His eye was awfully red, yet there were no tears. With the umbrella in one hand, he reached out with the other and tugged on the clay statue's robes and continued to plead for answers. What should I live for in this world? What does it mean to live? However, his questions were met by silence. There was not a soul to give him an answer. It seemed that the young boy had expected as much, and slowly dropped his head. To his surprise, a voice from above suddenly broke through the silence. If you do not know how to live on anymore, then live for me. Neither Feng Xin nor Muqing had actually expected him to answer, and such an answer too! Their eyes widened. Your Highness! The young boy's head shot up, but there was no one there. There was only a soft, gentle voice coming from that clay statue. I have no answer to the question you asked. However, if you do not know the meaning of your life, then make me that meaning, and use me as your reason to live. Oh, man. Feng Xin and Muqing's faces looked like they were about to explode, and both reached out to smother Shalian's mouth, sputtering, No more, Your Highness! You're breaking the rules! The rules! Before they could fully cover his mouth, Shalian managed one last shout. Thank you for the flower! It's beautiful! I like it very much! It's so good! Oh my god! Oh, that's so good. I love the order of events, you know, how it started with Shalian, you know, current Shalian just so down on his luck and just like finding everything he did so cringe and feeling like he knows the truth of how the world works. And connecting with Sanlong and just telling, he's like, yeah, one time I told somebody that didn't have a meaning to their life to make me their meaning. And that was him. And then we got to see in that moment how not cringe that was, you know? How that really was everything. How he made such an impact on his life. Oh, man, it's so good. And him even tugging on the clay robes of the statue. Oh man, I could cry. Neko Me says, let me adopt the baby. I will be his mother. It's crazy to think, like, oh, you know, Hua Cheng had such bad luck and the Star of Solitude and all that stuff, but he was caught by Shalian when he should have fallen to his death. And then, you know, his life is so awful, he very well could have killed himself, but he once again, like, Shalian intervened before that could happen. Like, both times Shalian intervened in his life. That's so good. So awesome. Fate, man! Yeah! Yeah, plus stopping Chi-Rong when he was in the sack. Yeah, it's true. So good. Oh, it's so good. Oh my god. Oh, man, I love this. I love this series so much. You know, I don't mean this in any sort of way that's like serious about like how you should feel embarrassed about like when you're talking to like normie people and they're like, "Oh, what's your favorite book series?" and then you like say, "Oh, Have an Official's Blessing." Like sometimes I think when I was like a little bit, I don't know, like a couple years ago when I wasn't as like established or even just as confident in like what I do, I used to feel nervous saying like, "Oh, Have an Official's Blessing is my favorite book," because they're like, "Oh, what is that?" And then like, you know, you can kind of downplay it and be like, "Oh yeah, it's like a gay like romance," you know. It's like yes, it's a gay romance, but it's so freaking good. Like it's just genuinely so good. It's not like oh I'm just watching this because it's gay, you know. Like, do I think the Bean Counter is incredible writing? Like, no. Am I reading it because it's kind of fuck or die? Like, yes, right? Like I can enjoy both. But this is just a genuinely like incredible literary romance. It's just so good. It's very satisfying. Yeah, the detective work. Kate says it's not Case File, that's for sure. Something in this just actually reminded me of Case File, though. Oh my god, like the whole reason for living thing that like Shea Ching Chung goes through, and like with his doctor and the jellyfish. It's like Hua Chung and Shea Ching Chung shaking hands over like finding a reason to live. Okay, guys, I think I've got to go. Um, Let me see about streams tomorrow. I have a couple meetings tomorrow, but yeah, I think 5 o'clock will still be good for tomorrow. Oh, also, very, excuse me, genuinely, let me just mention this. Do, 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 do. Okay. So as you guys probably know, I do have the sponsorship with Tokyo Treat and Sakurako, and of course, weddings coming up. Weddings super expensive. We're doing our honeymoon planning and stuff like that. A way that you can help support is if you do buy a Sakurako or Tokyo Treat box and use the code Kichter. I do get really good commissions on the Tokyo Treat stuff. And I genuinely would recommend like trying out Tokyo Treat or Sakurako for even just like 1 month, or gifting it for someone for like 1 month if you have someone's birthday coming up and it's like a long distance thing. If you are thinking about doing it, definitely like use the code Kichter. You get $5 off, and if you also purchase more than 1 box, that adds up like a lot. Like you can actually save a lot of money. So if you are gonna do it, use the code because the commission is awesome. Yeah, we're 11 days out from the wedding. Yep. Who Use Homophobia has been a member for 1 month and says, like the stream, guys. Bye-bye. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. And there'll be a new TikTok React video out on, I guess, I'll probably upload it right now, actually. Orion's Belt says, as someone who's got Sacrico boxes and isn't sponsored, shit's good. It's worth it for at least a couple months. Yay! Aw, thanks, dude. All right, I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye!